The question was not, is the Lord coming? The question is, are we going to be with him? But rather, what is going to happen to our loved ones who preceded us in death? That's their concern. Now let's talk a little bit about resurrection bodies, okay? Because we're going to be dealing with a resurrection here. Let's summarize what we think we know about Jesus' body after his resurrection, okay? Now I want you to notice something. When Lazarus was raised from the dead, it was not what we call a resurrection. He's brought back to life, but he died again. When we use the resurrection here, we're talking about that unique thing that happened to Christ, and we know from other scriptures what's going to happen to us too. What happened to Christ? What is his body like? First of all, we discovered from Luke 24 and John 20, he could apparently appear and disappear at will. He shows up suddenly, and he disappears. So his body has some very strange properties. He could move through solid walls. They gathered if they were frightened, they were in a locked room. 4 walls, locked doors, locked windows. He shows up in the middle of them. They think he's a ghost. He says, handle me and see. A spirit does not have flesh and bone like you see me have. He's tangible on the one hand, and yet his body has some very peculiar properties. It could be seen and felt palpable. That's in Matthew 28 and Luke 24. He could eat food, although apparently it wasn't necessary. But it's actually kind of interesting to me. He never appears after his resurrection without eating. He's my kind of guy, okay? Though he is glorified, he could be recognized. And there's a whole study about that I won't derail us here chasing down that one. But there's no more experience of death, aging, crying, mourning, sorrow, or pain. Revelation 21 covers all that. No death, no aging, no crying, no mourning, no sorrow, no pain. Some mathematical experts suspect that he must have, that we, at present, you and I live in 10 dimensions, not just 3. 3 spatial dimensions plus time. We live in 4 dimensions. The common perception in most particle physics and so forth is that we actually we are in 10 dimensions. 4 are directly measurable. 6 we can only infer by indirect methods. And so that causes some experts to suspect that Jesus has more than those 10. And it may be that whatever he has, he gave up 2 dimensions to make it possible for us to be there. And I think we'll spend an eternity discovering what it really cost him. The physiological pain of the cross, that we obviously perhaps can perceive some of that, maybe just the tip of the iceberg. We have no grasp of what it really cost him to have us be his beneficiary. But there are some that we could go through that, but I don't want to use up our time on these excursions. We got meat to go through here. We do know from Philippians 3 and 1 John 3 that all believers will be given new bodies that are like the glorious body of our Lord. Especially 1 John 3, 2. Beloved, it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him because we shall see him as he is. We won't see a representation because we're going to enjoy the same reality that he has. Wow, that's quite a statement. See, if that wasn't true, we probably would have been better off if we died at age 25. In other words, you're not going to inherit the body you died with. Okay. And then you can go through all kinds of speculations about that. But the resurrection does imply death. And it's also mentioned, it may surprise you, in the oldest book of the Old Testament, in Job 14, but especially in Job 19, starting at verse 25. This is in the Old Testament, the oldest book of the Bible. Job says, "For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me." What a statement of faith by Job. Even though my eyes have decayed, in my flesh I will see God. He knows he's due for a body resurrection. Job, way back there. Now some of the modern translations butcher this, by the way. No, you go back to the Hebrew. The King James is correct. I won't go down those paraphrase paths. They got it all messed up. See, in other words, what Paul's going to be dealing with, not all are going to die. There's some of us hearing this that will not experience death. There are a couple in the past that did not experience death, Enoch and Elijah being two of them. Well, it's appointed unto man once to die, and after this the judgment. People quote Hebrews 9:27. That's the general rule. There are some exceptions. Lazarus was the exception. He died twice. The widow of Nain's son, Jairus' daughter. You can listen. That's a general rule. That phrase in Hebrews 9:27 is a refutation of reincarnation. And there are two that didn't experience death, Enoch and Elijah. They're exceptions. They're typological exceptions, perhaps, but that's another study. The rapture is a transformation, we learn from Philippians 3. We are transformed in a moment. And by the way, that term in the Greek is atmos. It means something which cannot be divided. The whole field of particle physics is based on the discovery that everything we experience in our physical reality, length, weight or mass, time, all these things are made up of indivisible units. There is no period of time that is shorter than 10 to the minus 43 seconds. All time is made up of units of that size. Every length, every energy, mass, length, time, all are made up of indivisible units. And that's what's so interesting about one of those units we're going to encounter in our study tonight.